Hello there, I'm Mary, just a regular girl from the small town of Nazareth. Life here is usually as predictable as the sunrise, except, well, for that one day, that turned my world upside down. I was engaged to Joseph, a kind-hearted carpenter who could make anything out of wood except, apparently, a way to prepare for what was about to happen. One quiet evening, as I was pondering over our upcoming wedding, an angel appeared in my room. Now, you'd think an angel would knock, right? But no, he just popped in like a surprise guest, much more glowing. He said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you." I looked around, half expecting to find someone else he might be talking to. Just me and my knitting. You could say I was startled. Highly favored? I thought. He must have dialed the wrong address. Perhaps he meant the palace down the road. But there he was, talking about a baby and how this child would be called the Son of the Most High. I remember laughing to myself, thinking, sure, and I'm the Queen of Sheba. But the angel wasn't joking. This was for real. After he left, the first person I thought to share this absurd news with was Joseph. Imagine telling your fiancé, "Honey, I'm going to have a baby and oh, it's God's." He went through disbelief, shock, and finally, a quiet acceptance. I guess when you're about to marry someone, for better or for worse, gets a whole new meaning. That night we sat under the stars, talking about everything. Joseph, bless his heart, had a knack for making light of situations. "Well, Mary," he said, "looks like we're building more than just a house together." We laughed, and somehow, his humor made the whole thing seem a little less terrifying. So there we were, ready for our next big adventure, a road trip to Bethlehem. Not your typical holiday getaway, especially when you're nearly 9 months pregnant. Packing was a puzzle. How many pairs of sandals does one need to give birth to a Messiah? I wondered. Joseph just laughed and promised that whatever we forgot, we'd find along the way, except perhaps a midwife. The journey itself was something out of a comedy sketch. Imagine this, a young couple, a donkey who stubbornly believed he knew the route better than Joseph, and my constant cravings for figs and olives. Every few miles, Joseph would ask passing shepherds for directions. Not that he'd admit we were lost. "We're not lost, Mary. We're taking the scenic route to the city of David," he'd say with a wink. Nightfall found us in Bethlehem, which was bustling like a marketplace before a festival. Every inn was packed. Joseph, with his charming carpenter's diplomacy, knocked on every door. But it was always the same shake of the head and the words, "No room." At one inn, the innkeeper looked at my bulging belly and sighed. I could make room, but it might involve moving a couple of sheep and a goat. Eventually, we found ourselves in a stable, which was clean enough if you didn't mind the company of animals. It was no place for a baby, much less a king. Yet, as I settled down on the hay, surrounded by the gentle breaths of cows and the occasional bleat of sheep, there was a peculiar peace to it all. Joseph, ever the optimist, quipped, "Well, at least the baby will have plenty of playmates." That night, under a roof held up by nothing more than beams and prayers, our son was born. There, in a humble stable, with stars peeking through the wooden slats, I held the future king in my arms. Joseph was right beside me, his face a mixture of awe and love. Just when Joseph and I thought we could catch our breath and enjoy some quiet moments with our new baby boy, were we in for a surprise? You'd think a stable birth would be low-key, but not for us. Our first visitors were shepherds, and not just any shepherds. They were the kind who had been startled by a heavenly choir in the middle of the night. Talk about dramatic entrances! The shepherds stumbled in, wide-eyed and breathless. "We saw angels, a whole host of them singing about this little one," they exclaimed, pointing at Jesus. I had to chuckle. Our son was barely a day old and already famous. The shepherds, bless their hearts, were more overwhelmed than guests at a royal wedding. They knelt awkwardly, mud on their robes, and sheepishly offered their blessings. Just as the shepherds left, thinking we could finally get some sleep, another group appeared on the horizon. This time, it was wise men from the east, and they definitely hadn't packed light. They brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I nudged Joseph and whispered, "Did they get the baby registry wrong?" Where are the diapers and baby wipes? These wise men talked about a star that had guided them all this way. A star? For us? Joseph joked. I hope it didn't come with a hefty toll from the heavens. We all laughed, but their reverence and the symbolic gifts added a layer of mystery and majesty to our humble surroundings. As everyone finally left and the dust settled, I leaned back against the hay and looked at Joseph and Jesus, sleeping peacefully side by side. Here we were, a simple carpenter and his wife, parents to a child destined for things we could barely comprehend. I thought about the future, filled with both immense joy and undeniable challenges. Reflecting on the visitors, their gifts, and their prophecies, I realized our lives were on a path far from ordinary. But looking at my sleeping family, I smiled. Who wants ordinary when you can have extraordinary? As I whispered a good night to our stablemates, I knew this was just the beginning of a story filled with surprises. And who knows? Perhaps next time our visitors might think to bring something like a baby blanket or a nice warm pair of socks for Jesus. If you enjoyed our story and found humor in our unexpected visitors, please hit that like button. It helps more than you think. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next adventures, which promise more laughs, more awe, and yes, more celestial surprises. And if you know someone who'd enjoy a good chuckle or a heartwarming tale, please share this video with them. Last but not least, leave us a comment below. What would you have brought as a gift to our little stable? We can't wait to hear your thoughts.